With week 0 of college football being this week, I thought, what better time than do a predictions video for this upcoming college football season? Let's get into it. While I am very high on Missouri this season, I do think that they're still a year away from contending for an SEC title. And I do believe that Ole Miss is a college football playoff team this year, but I don't think they're going to win the SEC championship. But I would not be surprised if they made the SEC title game. I think Alabama makes the SEC championship game this year. Typically, when you lose someone of a Nick Saban and their status, usually your program is going to tank and fall off. That's not going to happen with Alabama. They made the correct hire and a home run hire, quite frankly, in Kalen DeBoer from Washington. DeBoer has won everywhere he's been. There were questions about would he be able to recruit in the SEC, and he's been killing on the recruiting trail since getting to Alabama. I think Jalen Milroe takes a step forward this year. He's a very talented quarterback and player, as a lot of people know. And in that DeBoer offense, he's just going to take a step forward. They got Caden Proctor back, who, if you remember, started last year as a true freshman at tackle, transferred home to Iowa, and then transferred back during the spring to Alabama. While, yes, they did lose Josh Downs in the portal, he left for Ohio State. This is still a very talented Alabama team. Great players defensively, weapons galore on offense, a great quarterback in Jalen Milroe. Alabama is poised for an SEC title game and a college football playoff berth. My SEC champion is Georgia. Not going out on any limb or trying to have a hot take here. Georgia is Georgia. After being left out of the college football playoff last year, you know Kirby Smart's going to have the boys ready to rock. Carson Beck comes back, who could have went to the NFL draft and, quite frankly, probably would have been a first-rounder, probably a top 20, top 25 pick in the draft. And he comes back. Yes, Brock Bowers is gone, but they got Oscar now at tight end. He'll take over. He's been playing behind Brock Bowers at tight end. He'll take over and start and be just fine. This defense, man, it's Georgia. They're going to have guys everywhere. That front seven is loaded. Kirby Smart will have the boys going. Carson Beck at quarterback, so you get a vet that's been there, been in big games. And Georgia is going to look for their third national championship in 4 years. With the ACC, I think Miami makes the ACC championship game. I know people have questions about Mario Cristobal, some of the boneheaded decisions that he makes. Obviously, you look at what happened against Georgia Tech last year. But this roster, man, is too good for Mario Cristobal to even mess up. They obviously get Cam Ward in the transfer portal, who might be the best quarterback in not just the ACC, but he's in that short list of conversation for best quarterback in the nation. They also get Damian Martinez from Oregon State, running back, who had real NFL buzz, decided, like Cam Ward, to stay in college for an extra year, collect some NIL money, goes down to Miami. This Miami team is legit, man, and kind of showing my hand for later in this video. Miami, yes, they lose in the ACC title game, but in my opinion, they're easily a college football playoff team. And my ACC champion is Florida State again, back-to-back years. Once again, not trying to have any hot takes or anything like that. Florida State is the best team in the ACC, in my opinion. Yes, they lost a lot on the defensive side last year, and even on the offensive side, you look at Keon Coleman, their leader, and Jordan Travis. But they get DJ Uiagalelei in the transfer portal, Marvin Jones in the portal at age. They have Patrick Payton also on that defensive D-line. And Mike Norvell is a good coach, man. I don't know what else to say. You look at their Week 0 game against Georgia Tech in Dublin, and there's legit people out there saying that Georgia Tech can pull off the upset. And Georgia Tech is a good team, and they will be in that game. But people are just sleeping on Mike Norvell. You know Mike Norvell is going to use that. He's the type of coach that's going to pull that and use that rat poison, as Nick Saban would call it, and show it to his locker room. And I expect Florida State to get off to a fast start and not slow down at all. Florida State is easily a top 4 seed in the college football playoff, obviously winning the ACC title. But I would not be surprised if they ended up with one of the top 2 seeds in the argument for that top 2 seed. Next, and in my opinion, the most competitive conference in the nation, I have Oklahoma State as the runner-up in the Big 12. You have Ollie Gordon back at running back. You have an offensive line that has plenty of veteran and a lot of starts. Alan Bowman's back at quarterback for his 25th year of college football, basically. And Mike Gundy with a veteran-led team. Mike Gundy's a great coach. He's going to win. No Texas, no Oklahoma in the conference. In my opinion, Oklahoma State makes that Big 12 championship game, but they fall just short. And in my opinion, the Kansas State Jayhawks are your Big 12 college football champions in 2024. Avery Johnson, if you don't know him, is an exciting, young, talented quarterback. They also get Dylan Edwards come over the transfer portal, the running back from Colorado. A lot of people know him from the TCU game, the Nebraska game. He had some big plays in there. Him and Avery Johnson are actually childhood friends. One of the reasons Dylan Edwards ends up in Kansas State. But they just got an overall talented offense and a talented team, man. Chris Kleiman, their head coach, is a great coach. He was a part of North Dakota State before leaving a couple years ago to go to Manhattan and take over the Kansas State program. And this, in my opinion, is, I guess last year would have been the start, but this year is really the jumping point for what Kansas State football is about to be in this new era. Oregon, welcome to the Big Ten. In my opinion, they make the Big Ten title game. If you haven't been paying attention, a lot of criticism, what people have always historically said about Oregon is, yeah, they're flashy, they put up a ton of points, but there's not enough meat there. You know, there's not enough on that line of scrimmage, on that front seven. They don't take defense seriously. It's all flash, no sizzle, all just no substance. That's not Oregon anymore under Dan Lanning. They recruit like your Alabamas, your Georgias, your Ohio States. They recruit like those dominant front seven teams that we know. On the line of scrimmage, on the offense and defensive side of the ball, Oregon's legit. They do lose Bo Nix to the NFL draft and Bucky Irving, but they bring in Stewart from A&M at receiver. They bring in Dylan Gabriel at quarterback from Oklahoma and previously UCF. Oregon's going to be good, man. I think that we get a rematch in the Big Ten title game from earlier in the season. Ryan Day and Ohio State, congratulations because you're winning the Big Ten title. This, in my opinion, I think nothing is absolute in life, especially sports, but, man, I think it's absolute that Ohio State is winning the Big Ten. Ohio State is the most talented roster in college football. Yes, Georgia's up there. Texas is up there. Alabama, Oregon. Nobody's touching Ohio State. People have questions if Ryan Day, he can't get it done. You know, he can't beat Michigan. He can't win the big game. My opinion, he can. There's a difference between not being able to do something and just haven't done it yet. Ryan Day just hasn't done that yet. They will get past them over the Michigan hump this year. They win the Big Ten title, and I don't think that's the only championship that they're going to be getting for the Ohio State Buckeyes this season. With the new 12-team college football playoff, a G5 is guaranteed a spot, and I think the G5 team this year is the Boise State Broncos out of the Mountain West Conference. They're one of the better teams. Obviously, everyone knows about Malachi Nelson transferring there from USC. He did not win the starting job, actually. So he's going to be starting the year as the backup, but Boise State's really good. They got Ashante Genty at running back, who is a legit, not just NFL prospect, but a legit first-round caliber player. I know running backs and where they're kind of headed and where they're at now with the NFL, but Ashante Genty is that special of a player. I know everyone's talking about Liberty and Memphis, but Liberty's schedule is just so weak, and even if Boise State does end up losing to Oregon as expected, if they just put up somewhat of a fight and that's their only loss or they're just a two-loss team, I think Boise State is a good shot to get in, and I think they will get in. I think they'll just edge out Liberty and South Florida. I know a lot of people are high on Memphis, but I think USF actually wins the AAC. I think South Florida is a very sneaky team this year. As previously stated in this video, I have Kansas State winning the Big 12, which makes them an automatic qualifier into the college football playoff. It's just a matter of if they get where they land on the top 4 seeds. I also have Miami as an at-large team. I think the ACC gets 2 teams in. Obviously, I have Miami in the ACC title game, but I also think they get into the college football playoff as well. Florida State, just like Kansas State, gets in being a conference champion, and I think Florida State has a good chance at being the number 1 overall seed, but I think they more than likely end up in that 2 or 3, more than likely that 3 spot. And now a team we have not talked about, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Marcus Freeman is a hell of a coach, hell of a recruiter, giving Notre Dame's restrictions. They get Riley Leonard in the portal from Duke. They get Bo Collins in the portal from Clemson. And they're over-under, if you are a gambler, you know it's at 10.5, which basically means they can only lose 1 game. And honestly, there's only 1 game on Notre Dame's schedule that I think they have a legit shot at losing, and that's the Florida State game, because I am super high on Florida State, as you have taken away from this video. I know they played Texas A&M week 1, and A&M is a good roster. There's a lot of talent on that roster, but I think Notre Dame should take care of Texas A&M in College Station. I am a huge fan of Lane Kiffin, and I have the Ole Miss Rebels in the college football playoff. Huge fan of Lane, always have been, and a huge fan of what he's building, as he would say, in the SIP. Getting Jackson Dart, going back a couple years now, was just chef's kiss for them. They lose Quinshon Judkins in the portal, yes, but that running back room might be better than what it has been the last 2 years. Yes, they lose the high-profile, high-name player, but that running back room is real quality stuff now. Killing it in the portal as always. Not one of these schools that you're going to see have a top 5, a top 8 recruiting class on the high school ranks, but Lane Kiffin knows the type of kid that he needs to fill the culture that he has built at Ole Miss. And my Heisman predictions are also going to be at the end of this video. You might want to stick around for that one as well. I have them in the SEC championship game losing, so of course Alabama is going to be in the college football playoff. As I previously iterated, most times when the GOAT of that sport steps away, you think that program, that team's going to take a dive, but not at Alabama. Kalen DeBoer was a home run of a hire for this school to keep going what Nick Saban has built. Texas is officially back. The age-old question, is Texas back? Yes, they're back. Steve Sarkisian, home run hire. I know I've said that about a couple different places now in this video, and it kind of sounds like I'm just repeating myself, but it really was, man. You look what Texas was, especially after Mac Brown, Charlie Strong days. Steve Sarkisian was the perfect hire for them, and they're just going to keep on chugging along this year. They're in the playoff, and they've had some injuries already at the running back position, which sucks for them, mainly C.J. Baxter, but they're still a good quality team, and I expect them to have a deep run this year. Georgia, obviously, have them win the SEC title game, so they get one of the automatic bids. Georgia's schedule is very tough, and that schedule is not for the weak, but Kirby Smart and this program, what's new? You know, they're just going to grind through the season, win games, do what they do, and they will have a very, very, very long season. If the 12-team playoff had been around for as long as the 4-team has, James Franklin's, the way people talk about him is a lot different. I think he's a very properly rated coach. People think he's overrated, which in my opinion is just astronomical wrong. It is ridiculously. He's a good coach. Obviously, at Penn State, you got to beat Ohio State and Michigan, and he has not been able to. But with this 12-team playoff, they don't play Michigan this year. I do think they lose the Ohio State game, but they're in the playoff. I think people are going to be surprised what this offense looks like. Getting the offense coordinator from Kansas, get Julian Fleming in the portal to come over from Ohio State, Pennsylvania guy. I think Drew Aller is going to look a lot different this year. And people hate on Drew Aller. He's very, very talented. It's just, can he put it together for this full season? And I believe he can. Big Ten runner-up in their first year. Of course, Oregon is going to be in the college football playoff. Why wouldn't they? Close to winning the Pac-12 last year. Couldn't get over that Washington hump. That's not going to be an issue this year. Oregon, welcome to the college football playoff. And that only leaves one team, the Ohio State Buckeyes. The number 1 overall seed in the college football playoff, in my opinion. I think they'll be that number 1 overall seed. I don't see them losing a single game this year. I've talked highly of them in this video, and it might sound like I'm an Ohio State homer, but I'm actually not an Ohio State fan. My college football team is a basketball blue blood, but nowhere near a football blue blood. This team, what they've done on the recruiting ranks, they get Jeremiah Smith, the 5-star receiver, and it's kind of crazy to think that you lose a Marvin Harrison, and you really don't lose nothing in that receiver room because Jeremiah Smith is just that good. You got the running back duo of Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins now. You get Will Howard, the transfer from K-State, and for whatever reason that doesn't work out, you got Julian Sayin and Aaron Nolan just waiting in the wings as well. The defense is a bunch of guys back. Denzel Burke comes back, could have been an NFL guy. JTT is back. There's just a bunch of defensive guys back. Caleb Downs getting in the portal, arguably the best overall defensive player in college football. This Ohio State team is just absolutely loaded, and they're going to do what they do. And that leads me to my national championship picks. We get a rematch from the college football playoff a couple years ago. Ohio State, Georgia, just two juggernauts of the sport going at it. And I think Ohio State comes out on top, like I said. I honestly do not see them losing a single game this year. And predicting a team to go undefeated, especially in a sport like football, especially college football, is just crazy. And I know it is. But, man, this Ohio State team is loaded. I think Georgia just comes up a bit short this year. Ohio State, man, what else can I say that I have not said in this video? It's going to be a fun year if you're a Buckeye fan, and a fun year in Columbus this year. Avery Johnson's one of my Heisman finalists. He's a big reason why I think Kansas State wins the Big 12 championship this year. He's a fun player, electric player, super fast. He's just got some mechanical issues passing that. He's got to work on some accuracy issues. but I see no issue. I think he'll be in New York as a finalist for the Heisman Trophy. Riley Leonard, I think, will be another finalist for the Heisman. Transferring from Duke to Notre Dame. He had some injuries last year with his ankle at Duke that he suffered against Notre Dame, ironically enough, that kind of hampered his whole season. Kind of got it cleaned up. There were kind of some issues in camp with it as well, but he seems to be healthy now and good to go. And I think he's a big part of why Notre Dame, honestly, probably only loses one game this year, if that. Riley's a good player. There's going to be the deep ball accuracy concerns for if you're a Notre Dame fan that are going to be there, but overall a good player and obviously a dual-threat quarterback as well. Carson Beck, another quarterback. We know this award's basically become a quarterback award. Carson Beck comes back for his last season of college eligibility in Athens to come back to be Georgia's quarterback for another year. And I think he's just going to light up the scoreboards again. Didn't have to play in the fourth quarter a ton last year, and that kind of hampered his numbers. But Georgia's going to be dominant again this year, and I think he's a big part why. Another transfer quarterback in Cam Ward coming from Washington State to Miami. Really thought about going to the NFL, use some NIL in his last year of eligibility to go back and be the quarterback for the Hurricanes. I've obviously stated in this video, I have Miami in the playoff. Super talented team. They just really needed that quarterback, that difference maker, that the most important position in all of sports, and they got it. Cam Ward's a good player. He's going to sling it all over the place. They got the running back in Damian Martinez, which will take some of the load off so Cam won't have to do everything. But Cam Ward's going to put up some great numbers, and this offense is going to be super fun to watch this year. My Heisman Trophy winner is Jackson Dart, quarterback for Ole Miss. Another year where a former transfer quarterback wins the Heisman Trophy, in my opinion. And a lot of these awards, yes, you have to put up great numbers on good teams, but it's narrative-based. And I think the narrative's there for Jackson Dart. You lose your best offensive player, and Quinshon Judkins goes to Ohio State. And I think Jackson Dart's going to put up numbers. This offense is going to be fun. Yes, Lane Kiffin likes to run the ball. I think it gets overlooked how much Lane Kiffin likes to control the clock and run the ball and do that. While, yes, putting up a ton of points, but Lane likes to run the rock. But this year, they'll be able to run, but Jackson Dart and his right arm is going to be a big reason why I have Ole Miss in the college football playoff and why I think he is going to win the 2024 Heisman Trophy. As always, thank you for watching. If you made it this far in the video, I very much appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications. Let me know down in the comments, what are some of your predictions for this upcoming college football season? We've almost made it, people, and it's a glorious time.